So, Kenya Moore went back to her YouTube channel, everybody. Like, let's give an applause for, consistency.
Boring.
I mean, I haven't been consistent. Well, this is my first video on how long. Anyhow, so if y'all don't really like, people talking about Kenya, then you might want to go now or drop into the comments and call me a hater. Call me jealous of Kenya. Tell me that I don't have anything. I'm sitting in that little room, whereas Kenya has this big old house. Drop into the comments and tell me that.
I hate you. I hate you. I don't even know you. And I hate your guts.
Anyhow, so Kenya went down to her YouTube channel and starts, singing like a songbird about Porsha and Shamea's relationship, under the guise of, I'm a really good friend and Porsha is not. That's the gist of everything to me, everybody. That's the underlying message of Kenya's, at least the snippets that I saw. Porsha is not a good friend, but I'm a good friend. So Kenya said, she's been on the show for 12 years. She's not on the show right now, but she's still employed. Now, you're still employed by Bravo, right? But aren't y'all independent contractors? So technically you're a freelancer, right? So I was a freelancer for a company and they put me on, they give you a company email and all this stuff. But one day they can say, hey, we don't need your services anymore. So bye.
Thank you for your services.
And then they may call you back. So if that's what she means by I'm still employed, fine. She's still employed. So she goes on to say that she's had conversations about Shamea about Porsha. Now, she says that in the past, when she and Porsha weren't cool, she said, we're cool now. For how long, though? How long will y'all be cool? Because from what I saw, y'all won't be cool for very long, because you just really just throwing Porsha under the bus, because she goes on to say that she heard, and she's not going verbatim, but she heard Porsha say in a roundabout way that to Shamea, but the way she said it was like a quote.
Why are you doing this? Why are you over here? Why are you doing this? Do you need the money that bad? And I think Shamea was like shocked, like, what, where is she going with this? And the gist of the conversation was, can't you just let me have this and you go over and do what you need to do? But this is my platform.
That's what she said. That's the gist of what she was saying about Porsha and Shamea's relationship, that Porsha did not want Shamea on the show and that they've been trying to get Shamea on the show full time for a long time. And for whatever reason, Shamea was not on the show. But Shamea even mentioned that her husband never wanted to be on the show, and hence how he only filmed, as of yet, one episode. And we heard him on another episode calling her. But other than that, Gerald, the HVAC man, does not want to be on the show. But meanwhile, it just seems like the casting of Shamea this season was out of desperation because, they were on this long pause hiatus trying to get the cast together, and look what they came up with.
Loser.
But anyhow, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Kenya, although you were going to call me a hater, but Kenya was being a hater of Porsha. She's like, oh, we're cool now, but not for long. Shots fired. You basically said Porsha is a control freak and Porsha wants to be the center of attention. Kind of like you.
That's you on tape.
Because, and then she says, I've never lied on anybody ever.
I've never lied on anybody. Never.
But her body language said, I lie. I'm a body language expert. But I've lied. I would never lie on anybody, but you lied on yourself. You brought Walter in your first season as your boyfriend, and we all know that he wasn't your boyfriend.
Kenya and Walt. Okay, I just met you guys the first day. I didn't believe you guys was a couple. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Then you had that storyline with Matt, which I always thought it was fake. But hey, Everybody believed that Matt storyline. And then it's like, now you have the husband that just won't go away. But even still, Kenya goes on to say that, you know, if she has a friend, she's going to go to bat for them. Because, you know, she quoted Oprah. If you have a friend that shows any sign that they don't want to see you get ahead, then that is not your friend.
And she asked me to come. Nobody's friend.
So she would go to bat for her friend. She's even gone as far as putting her job on the line to bring on somebody. She would say, hey, you need to look at this person. This person is perfect for the show. She's dynamic. She make a great housewife. Are you talking about the cookie lady? Because the cookie lady gave nothing.
At a point in the conversation, we kind of like lost interest with one another.
This is the way it stopped. That's it.
And speaking of which, you being a good friend with the cookie lady, you kind of threw your so-called friend Cynthia under the bus. And then, speaking of Cynthia, you've thrown Cynthia under the bus how many times? Once you ruined her engagement. Then you ruined her. You were trying to you were shading her for the wine business, which was actually a sponsored deal. And you also turned on her on girls trip because she was trying to hold you accountable. So are you really that good of a friend, or was Cynthia never your friend? But so she also, you know, she's saying that she would go to bat for people. So if it wasn't the cookie lady, was it that funny looking NFL wife that she's been parading around for several seasons in the background? Because clearly this girl does not make good TV, because if she made good TV, she would have some scenes, some speaking lines, but she just kind of there, never really quite jumping in. So how dynamic is this girl? I swear, you know, Kenya's his production queen, but leave the production to the production. Although I think production has done a poor job. Anyhow, and then it's like, you're not even producing your own show, your own YouTube channel, Kenya. It's like all these Atlanta housewives are going to this chick Jamie, the one, you know, who Porsha beat up in the streets, in the alley. She's now, it seems to be everybody's producer. She's in the background asking them questions, you know, for them to react to, because that's all they know. They only know how to do a confessional scene. So they throw questions at you and you respond to them. So that's all that Kenya's doing, you know, and she's doing her hot topics, which are really like warm topics, because it's like she brought up Kris Jenner's facelift, and that was like 2 weeks old in the news cycle. But she probably, she may have filmed that show when it was fresh in that news cycle, but didn't post the video until 2 weeks later.
Who's that dummy now?
But y'all love Kenya more. Y'all think she's the greatest to ever do it, which I doubt. No.
Oh, hell no.
Because if, you know what, if Kenya was the greatest to ever do it, then why don't we have a lot of memes and reels of Kenya, you know, doing stuff? Now, who we do have that, who's given her life, who's given all that she has to Real Housewives, was Nene.
I work.
Who's also on YouTube, trying to be a YouTuber, who shunned YouTubers. But that's another story. And, you know, so these housewives are really, you know, desperate for money. Clearly, you know, like us YouTubers, you know, who, you know, Kenya's keeping our lights on, but we're keeping her lights on now too, apparently.
The thirst is real.
You know.
The thirst is real.
You know.
I don't think that Kenya being back on the show would up the ratings. Like, people keep saying, oh, bring back Kenya, bring back Nene, bring back Kim. I don't think that these women would give anything to the show at this point in their lives and in the game, because social media has ruined it. I mean, we know what's happened on the show before the show even airs. So that being said,
I don't give a damn.
What deal?
Bye, girl.